wonderful, and we couldn't be doing this without them.
We wish the Sun Devil dance team the best of luck this weekend competing in the UDA Nationals, and we'll do it again next week. More Sun Devil.
Ten seconds.
Welcome back, everyone, to Fox 10 Talks PM edition, Wednesday afternoon. Here we go, rolling. I'm Brian Webb, Trenton Hooker here. Join us on YouTube. Also, don't forget Michael Obie and Big Dave. He just goes by Big Dave now, right?
I believe so, yes. Or he's even shortened it to D, I
Big
think.
D? A Big D?
Yeah.
Does he have a business card like that, just Big D?
It's too big.
The Big D. Good to know. Hey, we're starting off with hot off the presses trouble for the Clintons, right?
Yes, the House Oversight Committee, which is led by a Republican majority, they did vote for both Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton to hold them in contempt of Congress for not showing up to testify in the committee over the Jeffrey Epstein files. Now, that will move out of committee and then go before the House floor for a larger vote. But as Fox News is reporting this afternoon, they just need a simple majority to then submit charges to the Department of Justice in that case for a contempt of Congress. But we do have a clip from C-SPAN, if we can play real quick, of that vote taking place in committee.
The question is now on favorably reporting the William J. Clinton contempt report as amended. Members will record their votes using the electronic voting system. The clerk will now open the vote on the William J. Clinton contempt report.
Now, the final vote as it came down was 34-9 for former President Bill Clinton, voting in favor to advance that. And then for Hillary Clinton, it was a 28-15 vote. But what I did think was interesting is the number of Democrats who voted to advance Bill Clinton's bill. You had several members of the so-called squad, the more progressive members of Congress, where Ayanna Pressley, the Democrat from Massachusetts, is on that committee, as well as Rashida Tlaib, a Democrat in Michigan. They, along with several other Democrats, a whole score of them, voted to advance this. So, again, really seeming like this is a bipartisan issue on the Epstein files.
I'm just surprised. There's some grumblings that, how many DOJ files have not been released?
Yes.
And people are upset about that, but it just kind of, we gave you some, or we're moving on with Greenland or whatever it might be under the Trump administration. But I also kind of wondered with the Clinton-Trump, they both were at some time close with Epstein. We've seen the pictures. We've heard the stories. I always wondered if it was like a gentleman's agreement of mutually assured destruction. I always kind of wonder that. I don't know. But like you mess with me,
right?
It's going to come out about you. I always wondered that, but I guess Congress doesn't care.
Sure. Well, and it's fascinating just to see, but how many of the president's own supporters are growing so against that action with not doing anything on it. And
let the best lawyer win, right? I mean, that's going to be
indeed. And I think that's what it comes down to, like we were talking about before in the newsroom, are the Clintons strategizing that we will just take our chances with the Department of Justice, come and get us, compared to showing up in the committee and then presumably taking the Fifth Amendment, and that being the bigger soundbite to live on.
Which path looks slightly worse?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
No good choices, but we'll keep following that.
All right.
But a lot going on, of course, with ICE enforcement across the country after Renee Good's death. Now, 2 weeks that's been. We were first talking about it.
I know it's a big deal. Real quick to interrupt you, that my haircut. My hairstylist was talking about it, and it's a big deal when it's happening in the barbershop, right? Like, I can't believe this ICE stuff is out of control.
Yeah.
Apropos of nothing, I didn't bring it up. You know, just like people, I think because of our job, maybe want to talk to us about things, but he was like launching into it, and like, okay.
It's already been said that is the Rorschach test of 2026, where people are still so split on it. The more we even find out about it, more people dig into their trenches about how they feel about it. But
that's where we're at. Right? That's where we're at.
But in Arizona, of course, the battle's still raging on, and how ICE is possibly going to be ramping up enforcement soon. We've heard that on the congressional level, with both our U.S. senators warning that could be happening very soon, and Phoenix in particular being the next target. But local leaders in Pinal County, the battle raging there about ICE cooperating with local leaders. And Ashlie Rodriguez has been on this story all day long, covering what ICE is doing there, and then the county board of supervisors. Ashlie, tell us what the latest is with the fight there with ICE.
Hey guys, how much time do I have? Because I got a lot to tell you.
Go for it. It's your show.
Woo! All right. So there's something called a 287G agreement. It's pretty much an agreement between local jurisdictions and DHS. And a lot of areas in Arizona have an agreement. It's usually within jail enforcement, like the Arizona Department of Corrections. If they arrest you for doing something, even if you have not been proven guilty of a crime, if you can't prove citizenship, they're going to hand you over to ICE. So there's pretty much ICE officers in the jails, right? That's already said and done. Well, Pinal County Attorney Brad Miller wanted to take it a step further. He wanted to pretty much allow ICE to work with local law enforcement, like boots on the ground. And he gave me some examples of, like, they're going after child trafficking rings in Pinal County. So ICE agents would go with those investigators, and if any of those guys were also illegal criminals or potential criminals in this ring of trafficking children, but they were also illegal, then ICE could grab them. Now, what does Pinal County get out of that? They get extra boots on the ground. They get extra federal resources. What does ICE get out of that? They get to detain illegal immigrants. So that was announced last month. Brad Miller was like, we're doing this. And then Pinal County residents, they got, some of them were like, no, we don't want that. Obviously, and I don't have to go into that. You guys know how people feel about seeing ICE on the ground in their cities. So what he wanted to do was a 287G task force agreement. So again, we have 287G jail enforcement agreements. This task force is when you actually see ICE hanging out with your local deputies. So today, we went to the Pinal County Board of Supervisors, a bunch of public comment, a lot of people very upset. We don't want ICE in our community. Of course, there were some people in support saying, don't listen to the left. The left is protecting these immigrants who have committed horrible crimes. Like, we can't forget that some of these guys that they're going after are actually bad guys, and you're literally standing in front of ICE vehicles trying to stop them from getting a child sex offender. You know what I mean? So it was back and forth, but none of it mattered. It ended up not mattering, the debate, because in-house counsel goes up to the Board of Supervisors and was like, County Attorney Brad Miller doesn't have the authority.
Wow.
So the summary of the meeting was, No, there's no 287G task force agreement because County Attorney Brad Miller went above his pay grade. He does not have the right to tell law enforcement what to do. He's the county's attorney. I reached out to the county attorney. I don't know if you have that statement, but he is not like backing down at all. He wrote me, let's see, he goes, they say our agreement is void. Prove it. Since December, we have repeatedly asked the board for legal authority supporting that claim, and they have provided none to our office. If the board truly stands with ICE, they should place this issue on the agenda for the next board meeting and ratify the agreement. We stand with President Trump and our federal law enforcement partners. So there you have it. Did you get all that?
Wow.
Take notes?
It all sounds so familiar on a local level, though, right? It's how the Trump administration operates. They push the boundaries. They believe the law is going to eventually end up on their side or test it anyway. It sounds like he's, like you said, right out of that playbook, and prove me wrong kind of sentiment there. But
well, do you get the sense, though, Ashlie, with that soundbite that you had with the chairman, who was pretty fired up, saying Brad Miller was not authorized to sign that agreement, kind of overstepped his authority with doing it. Do you feel like this was more referendum on that compared to the particulars of the 287G?
Good point. Yeah.
Yeah, this is solely a legal issue. And I think the board feels like Miller stepped on their toes. They didn't get into the morality of it, the humanity of it. They didn't get into the politics of it. The public, during public comment, they were really into the politics of it. But legally, County Attorney Brad Miller is gun-ho. And the board is like, no, that's our job. We got to approve it. So it's kind of a battle between, two government officials. We're going to see how it plays out, because obviously if Miller's challenging the legality of this, when I just sat in a meeting and in-house counsel is pointing out the statutes, this is going to be a battle. So it's going to go back and forth. Now, one of the things to think about, though, is while you have people saying, hey, we don't want boots on the ground, there's also an argument to say that this detracts from local law enforcement. If we were to take out the emotion and just talk about the particulars of putting ICE with your sheriff's deputies, the sheriff's deputies, the argument is it's not their job to enforce federal law, which is immigration, right? Their job is to keep the community safe. And if somebody calls 911 and a sheriff's deputy is wrapped up in paperwork or wrapped up with an ICE operation and can't get to them, that's not fair. So there's that argument too.
I see another Rorschach test here, though. It's like, well, are we going to want all of our available officers out there catching the bad guys, whatever you determine that means, or waiting for the 911 call to happen? And it's also, I know we all have been watching this closely, especially given our jobs, but how, it first went to, we're going to only go after illegal immigrants who are really bad guys. And then it just seems to be, and we all think we knew it was coming, it was going to be a little slippery slope there to what they're going to do and who they're going to sidle up to and work together with. And it's just like, it's just been constant pressure in that direction.
Well, I do think now that, all of us are talking about it, and from a news perspective, though, it is really fascinating, the promises that were made on the campaign trail, like you said, Brian, going after those hardened criminals, getting them off the streets, but the transparency too, where this administration says they're the most transparent administration in history. And how many times just in the last 6 months, the three of us asking questions with DHS, with ICE, about specific incidents where we have a report that, hey, my friend or my family member is getting picked up and they're an American citizen. We'll either get no answer, which is the majority of the responses to Fox 10, or we will get the same default template back that this is an active investigation. So I would say it is interesting for those that are supporting this, who are supporters of the president, where is that transparency that was also supposed to come with it too? Because it's hard for us to do our jobs and report about things accurately when we're not even hearing from the other side.
Ashlie, 30 seconds. What do you think?
Oh, man. All right. Well, as a reporter, I just think that both sides are so far extreme. If we were to just come in the middle from both sides, I think it would just be a more leveled conversation, because at this point, you can't say that we should be able to have illegals in this country without any, repercussions. And you also can't say, let's get everybody, let's round up everybody and hunt them down. So if we could.
Hey, welcome back to Fox 10 Talks. I'm Trenton Hooker, joined by Brian Webb, and we're having a really fast-moving show today.
Yeah,
it feels
goes
like
fast, huh?
a lot going on. But your story that you were covering, this fire that was happening out in the Far East Valley, right? It's by Pastapachi Junction and Gold Canyon.
Yeah, way out there.
Yeah, Superstition Mountains, really, really pretty area, but you also have some really gorgeous houses too, right?
Gorgeous houses,
just
big, nice.
Very large. But we got the call last night of first alarm fire happening, and Skyfox was actually over it. I mean, take a look at this video, just how fast all of this was hitting. Wow, like fully involved, and there's so many fire crews going out there and doing it. And Brian, you were on the ground there too today, right? Looking at the damage of what was left.
Yeah, not much
pretty
left.
hollowed out.
Not much left. We also, I mean, it's I don't know, half, 2/3 of the home is just a big pile of wood and rock now, bricks. And it's an 8,000 square foot house.
That's the moment right there where the roof collapsed.
Boom, yeah.
Wow.
I guess firefighters were in there, and someone was sharp enough to go, "We better get out of here," and that happened supposedly seconds later.
Wow.
60 seconds. So we could have had a whole different story there. But they got out. No one hurt. No one hurt from the house. I asked how many people were in there, and they just said, well, we don't really know yet, but we know the owner got out with his dog. And so they feel safe. And they did give the all clear before the roof collapsed. So they don't think there was anybody in there. They don't know how it started yet. 8,000 square foot house, 7 bed, 7 bath, huge.
It's like a multi-million-dollar home. Correct?
It's like two. Yeah. It's I looked it up on Zillow, $2 million.
Right.
But yeah, it's also the one thing. I guess it's built on the side of the mountain, as many of those homes are out there. A smaller mountain,
right.
But so there was a little issue with getting access to one side of the house to the right. I think of what you're seeing here, because it's just so tight in there. You just have a little walkway to a door, I think. So that was an issue, but and it's still smoldering today. I mean. when I was out there noonish, still smoldering. Fire crews can't get in there because it's still too dangerous to mess around with. Investigators are on scene trying to figure out what started it all. There were reports that we mentioned from neighbors and fire crews of something that sounded like ammunition going off in the fire. So lots to tackle there, but just the size of it, the size of the house, the speed. It took them till the call came out at 6:30ish, I think, and then they didn't get the upper hand or control of it till midnight, they said.
Wow. Yeah. But very incredible work that they were able to put that out, at least, and save lives there. So very good. But let's switch gears a little bit and talk about what we have coming up on our other show that we do. Talk about that. Unknown. Yes.
This is something I've been fascinated by this since I was a little kid. Like, there are actually groups of people who have almost zero contact with the outside world. And the hot spot, I think, is the Amazon jungles.
Yes.
And I heard about this as a kid. I'm just like, what? I don't get it. They don't have TV. They don't have radio.
Right.
They don't have Fruit Loops.
How are they making it work out there?
How do they survive out there?
And just in the age, too, with 2026, it's like how with all of the satellite technology that we have and the access to get to the Amazon, are there people still living out uncontacted? Pretty amazing stuff. So
I jumped the gun on that, didn't I?
You did
That's
a little
our
bit,
new
but
one.
it's okay.
It was top of mind. We're working on that.
That's coming up in a little bit.
We're working on that one.
Yeah. But let's talk about the other one that you found.
All right, the other one.
Yeah, that was fascinating.
This is fascinating, too.
Brian is unknown right now.
Yes, unknown territory.
I got a lot going on. I'm getting texts. I forgot to do stuff. I'm going to get in trouble when I go in the newsroom. Is there a back way out here, by the way?
Yes, an ejection seat, and hopefully we can hit it soon.
Gosh,
but
the only way in right now is the back way.
Right, yes. Big D comment?
No.
The big thing though was that this is a 82-year-old mystery of one of the, I'd say, most notorious photographs of the Holocaust that we were able to talk to a researcher who feels he has unmasked the killer seen in a photograph. Jürgen Mateos, who was the former head researcher at the National Holocaust Memorial Museum, we had the pleasure of speaking with him about how using artificial intelligence was able to identify this SS officer seen in a photo. Was the last Jew of Vinitsa. So
amazing. And like you said, they used AI. They got a family photo from an in-law, basically, who always suspected that was going on. And the amazing part to me is, it's a 34-year-old teacher, married, not exactly the kind of
the archetype of what you would expect for an SS officer.
Monster.
Right.
And the picture's just horrifying. I mean, the guy's on his knees, the victim's on his knees in front of a pit with other bodies in there. I mean, he's milliseconds away from curtains, and the group of Nazi soldiers just watching it like it's a basketball game.
Right.
And the guy with the gun to his head
moments before he executed
and it's just awful. But
in that identity of both the victim and the perpetrator was a mystery, at least for the killer.
Here we go.
Take a look of that clip. They have identified him as Jacobus Onen, who was a German over in Ukraine. And of course, this is in 1941 with Operation Barbarossa, where Hitler and the Nazis launched into the Soviet Union. And this Einsatzgruppen death squads, the SS, which they called the Holocaust by bullets, and being able to identify this person. But if we can actually listen in a little bit, if we want to play SOT 2, where he explains getting those family photographs and finally making the match that this is Jacobus Onen.
We know that everyone was not only encouraged, but in a way almost forced to participate in the shootings. For some members of the Einsatzgruppen, there was no force required because they were eager to participate themselves. So there was a group pressure involved here. there was part of the socialization clearly in his upbringing had to do with his support of Nazi ideology. The little that we have by him by way of writing before the war is not that explicit. It's very much it very much has the atmosphere and the tone of many of these letters and other texts that were written at the time. Doesn't necessarily make for a committed murderer as he comes across here in that photo. So it remains mysterious what exactly are the motives of his involvement. And in fact, motivation is one of the biggest unknowns, if you like, when it comes to the involvement of perpetrators into the Holocaust. In many cases, it is a mix of different factors.
Because you always think it never happened to you. You always think you'd run into the burning building and save the person. But, there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
People make decisions that maybe otherwise they wouldn't.
That's the thing. And I think there's something to that. Is it societal pressure, or are you going to be the same you when, you're using your moral compass of how to go through these things? I think that's what historians and certainly survivors of the Holocaust have been talking about since those terrible worst moments in human history.
And
really.
Interesting still, isn't it, Trenton, that they're still going after these people, trying to do the work 80 years later.
Yes,
and
it's fascinating. And I think that's kind of what he was talking about a little bit with the U.S. National Holocaust Memorial Museum in Washington, D.C., that this photo was used so much in the promotional material and then also the building itself, but how the identity of one of the killer in it still was unknown, the victim being unknown as well. But finally getting that clarity to find out that this is Jacobus Onen and putting a name to that killer. But if we could play the SOT 2 real quick, I see those photos real quick. Looking back on this dark moment in history with the way that we tell it, especially.
And as it turned out, over back and forth and communicating with the man and his wife over many months, it turned out that he had accumulated a lot of material on that distant family member. And based on the photographs that my contact had collected, it was possible to have comparable images that allowed for the identification of the shooter. And we now know that this is a man by the name of Jacobus Onen, born in a small village in eastern Frisia in northwestern Germany, close to the Dutch border. The man did not survive the war. He was killed in anti-partisan warfare in August 1943, which is one of the reasons why he never became known to investigators who were investigating the crimes of the Einsatzgruppen. But it is clear that he was part of the Einsatzgruppen and that he's the man in the photo with a very high likelihood that he's the man.
So that's the headline. Wow. Yeah, and I just the digging he had to do to get there. He himself, Jürgen, is retired. I mean,
yes.
I don't know how long he was working on this particular project, but I mean, these things take years, decades to solve. One guy.
Right, and like we were talking about too with the search for the identity of the victim in that photo, just the legwork to try to go through it to find out who this person was. They still don't know, but how he was working with a counterpart in Ukraine who was able to go back through passports from the 30s all the way to 41, just looking at photos for a facial recognition match of, is this possibly the person? And they seem like they got pretty close, but again, that name is still lost to history. So that was fascinating. But again, the collaboration now where they used it's an online platform called Bellingcat, where online sleuths who were also interested in a variety of topics where they were able to propose, hey, look, let's find out at least where this happened, where originally the photograph was titled The Last Jew of Vinnytsia, but it turns out that the town was actually, I believe, 40 miles away from where Vinnytsia was in Ukraine by Kyiv, and able to triangulate to the exact place where this victim was executed, and then placing also with the war diaries, which had a photograph of that, to the location, and then unmasking Jacobus Onen there as well.
And you got to wonder, if you think it through, it might be a lot harder to identify the victims, since a lot of them didn't make it.
Yes.
A lot of them didn't make it out of there. They don't have family photo albums anymore. They were destroyed. So that may be a tough one.
A lot to get into there. Now, we're about to run out of time, but one thing he did speak about, which we'll have more in the episode, was that in some of the war memorials, that the names of even the perpetrators, in this case, Jacobus Onen in his hometown, where it said "our victims," his name still